Hey guys, it's Dave. Let's not spend a lot of time talking about this video. Be plenty of chatting throughout it. We're going to do a good old-fashioned back to basics chore video. I've got Hoya to trellis, repot, I've got aeroids, I've got some challenging repots to do. We'll see how long this video gets. If it breaks down into two, we'll just see. But I think I'm going to start out with one very cool Hoya that absolutely needs to be addressed several weeks ago. Stick with me. I did forget to say that this is going to be a cozy video. Does it feel cozy? I have my lunch here. We need to get busy. I'm going to thread the needle between being able to see me, which is, I assume, 90% of why you're here, and being able to see what I'm doing with the plants, which is, you know, a side note to this project. I don't really feel that way. Kind of feel that way. This is my Verstigi, and it is on, I don't know if you follow Memo on House Planty Goodness. He's always talking about janky support sticks. This is a redefinition of what that means. When I bought this plant, I actually paid for this plant. If you've been following me along this summer, I have been given so many very special Hoya. I've never probably added more Hoya to my collection and spent less money, that's for sure. But it came with 2 leaves down here, and they were doing really pretty well. It was putting out this new growth. They began to turn a little bit yellow, and within 2 days they were bright yellow and fell off. Not a big deal since there is this leaf here. I would not have probably been super happy if the vine had started here and gone to here, but I'm going to trellis this one up. I'm going to repot it and trellis it, and I assume it's in a fairly chunky mix. Now, when you use clear pots and you feed your plants and they're in light without a cover pot, this is what you get. So they're usable for a while, but at any rate, this has been in the tent. If you saw my recent tent video, that was hours and hours and hours of work edited down to 22 minutes. I realized I was showing too many plants, and that wasn't kind of the point of the tent video, but it's hard to pull out amazing plant after amazing plant and not show it to y'all. But I am going to quite carefully, or at least carefully enough, get this unpotted. I generally just try to get rid of that right away. And I know some people just slap their plants around, and I can't bring myself to do it, especially this delicate velvety. Well, it seems delicate, it's probably not. And let's take a look here. I'm gonna maybe pull some of the algae off. Or algae, as you may say in some parts of the world. I'm gonna get rid of some of the old substrate, but I would say, not having seen these roots since maybe spring, I'm about to hold this right over my water glass. Yum. But that looks great, right? Very happy with that. And just like, look how large these leaves are. Holy Moses, that's gorgeous. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. I have no idea what I paid for it. It probably wasn't a ton, knowing me. Got my usual mix. This is, of course, linked in the description. Do you ever put a mix together and you think, I want it to be that way every single time? Every single time I want it to be just like I made it here, because it just seems perfect to me. But we'll see. We'll see what the plant thinks, I suppose. I'm just going to dump a little in the bottom. I've already broken my #1 rule of repotting, and that's to make sure that the bottom of this is chunky, primarily chunky. so that the cocoa coir has somewhere to go without being compacted. So, one moment. There we go. And I will just sift in a little of that cocoa coir. And did I bring a trellis for this? This is starting out pretty well. I'll probably have to edit this down to almost nothing. I think I'm going to do a horseshoe trellis for this one. I don't think I want to do the wire one because these leaves are so large and pillowy that I don't think it's going to look that good or be that easy to wrap around. If I had started this younger, it's a very young plant, but when it was small, that might have been a different story. And I kind of just put it in here and get the stem so that there will be a natural bend in there, like that. And then just at least temporarily, I put a clip in so that I don't accidentally snap a stem. Because for the first time on this channel, you would hear a very pronounced F word. And I would not edit it out. I had the heartbreaking news. A friend emailed me the other day and said, the Supreme Perlite Super Course, which is what I use, and it's my favorite thing in the world, is out of stock. And of course I've been putting off ordering it for no good reason. I don't know why. I have a little more than I thought, but dang it. I hope it's not a permanent situation because it took me a long time to find a perlite that I was really, really happy with. So we shall see. Yeah, that is gonna look really good. It's as simple as that. Now I sometimes, when I say sometimes, I always pack in a little bit by the trellis. And yeah, that's gonna be good. So what I'm gonna do is get this unpinned up here. And I'll want to put this clip right below a leaf so that, because this is going to want to slide down anyway, and that's a good way to secure it. That's nice. That is one heck of a Hoya. I see that Sydney Plant Guy has an hour and 53-minute video up repotting his entire Anthurium collection. Today we're going to repot half of my collection, which is this one plant. And it's this. I'm not going to pronounce that. If I can see my handwriting isn't legible, I will put it on the screen. And this has been in the tent. It's basically in bark. I don't know that it needed to be in the tent, but last winter when I was putting porch plants away, I put it in there. It was quite small. This is a plant that I got from a friend. It was like a giveaway price, a couple dollars. And it's cute. These leaves can grow absolutely enormous, but the mix I have it in is just about straight bark, and it's probably thirsty way before I end up watering it. I don't know. Let's take a look here. I just always take a look, make sure we're not dealing with any pests within the soil. And this looks fantastic. Let me move the tray a little bit and give you a look at that. I'm sure you've seen Anthurium roots before, but that looks nice. So I'm happy with that. Break it apart a little bit. I'm gonna give it a little more moisture retentive mix. It is moist because I just watered it. Could have been yesterday. It was yesterday. I brought it downstairs and I soaked it for quite a while. I sometimes will put off something that I want to do because I think, oh well, I want to film that tomorrow, and then I don't feel like it, or I change my mind, whatever it is, and then it doesn't, it hasn't been getting done. So I have learned that, you know, if something needs water, it needs to be soaked, to just do it and then worry about what happens tomorrow. And in terms of, it's going to go in a larger pot than this one. Yes, when I put it in this 4-inch pot, it had a substantially smaller root system. I think this might have been in like one of those 1.5 or 2-inch little shot glass cups. I grabbed this, but I wonder if it's just going to be about the same. It seems, it is taller. Oh, it's taller and wider, so perfect. I got this thrift shopping. I would bet someone had an orchid in that, maybe. That wouldn't surprise me. I will make a little bit different mix than I usually do. I've got bark and sphagnum here. As usual, I'll just put a little of that in the bottom and sift down some cocoa coir. See how I did? Pretty well. And to keep me on brand, I will try not to be messy. I will try not to be messy. I will be messy. There's no trying one way or the other. It's kind of ridiculous how long this has kind of needed this and how long I have put it off. But there we go. Y'all are crazy with your anthuriums. I was watching Anna with plants this morning, and she got a dream anthurium, and I've always thought, you know, if I were gonna get a really classic or cool anthurium, and I don't even know what that is, you know, but I wouldn't, you know, I don't have the urge to collect everything, you know, like I'll be adding orchids to my collection, but it won't be like I feel the need to just dominate the space with orchids. And so I would rather like buy one, to me, special anthurium, something, in other words, something that I'm really attracted to, and just grow that one or two plants. And so I thought, yeah, that's a really cool looking plant. I won't spoil it for you, but my God, the price, way outside of my league. And by way outside of my league, I mean a mortgage payment outside of my league. Wow. More power to anybody who can do it. I don't like that this is kind of crooked, but it may just be that way. I may just smash it down a little bit. And I'll take this to the sink to get it out of our way. But there's another plant potted up. All right, we're on a roll now. This incredible plant was another gift from a friend here in Iowa. If you saw my swap video, that's who it's from. And it has done just so well. Looks incredible. It's such a beautiful plant. And if you see right there, a peduncle. So I'm going to be careful. I'm going to be as careful as I can be. I hate to say it, and I hope I'm not the only one, so feel free to comment. I'm still not caught up with spring chores. Now, in my defense, I did start a YouTube channel, and there's an awful lot to learn to do YouTube and filming and editing and etc. And then I certainly hadn't expected so many of you to want to buy plants, and I promise next year I will have a better system, meaning I'll have at least a system. And but yeah, I still have plants that are in a substrate that's just pure chunk that I've been talking about for, you know, months now. So maybe we'll address some of those too. But let's look at this one. So there's definitely, I'm just going to pull out some rotted roots, probably dry rot. Let's see here. So as you can see, this is what I'm dealing with. That doesn't look great. I'm not sure what I did wrong. All right, well, the part I have edited out was I've just been doo-dicking with these dead roots, trying to convince myself that there are enough healthy roots that this would work. And you know, if it's like in life, when you just find yourself fighting with yourself to talk yourself into doing something, you know, it's probably not the right decision. And you know, I don't necessarily, you know, love starting plants over, but if you've been with me for a while, you know I don't think it's that big a deal. And in fact, sometimes the plant will be so much happier. I'm going to forget to say this if I don't say it right now. Well, this is the perfect timing. I do read, you know, occasionally, not occasionally, I've read it a bunch of times, people recommending that when you have roots that are dry rotting or suspected, that you give the plant sips of water to give the roots an opportunity to slowly uptake the water. No. When you have dead, dry rotted roots, they're dead. They are not going to spring back to life no matter what loving, tender care you water them with. The idea that there's a difference between a little bit of water on a dead root and flushing the pot like I usually water it is nonsensical. It isn't going to happen. So I don't want to damage the stem here. So I'm going to pay attention to what I'm doing because there's more than potentially one stem here. Trying to separate that. So let's see what we have here. I'll cut off the kind of the dead material. Here's one root that looks like it's trying to grow, maybe. I wasn't going to talk about propagation today because somebody sent me a lot of really good questions, enough that would justify doing a propagation video. I think I've talked about every aspect of my propagation over the course of several videos, but I don't have just one. And there are probably lots of good ones out there. But maybe you want to see how I do it. I don't know. We'll find out. People vote with their eyeballs, that's for sure. Okay, so this has plenty of stem here. So I'm just going to cut back up to this good root, and as it may be focusing there, there is sap coming out. Don't worry if it looks healthy and you've got green stem in there and it's not bleeding out, it's still viable. I cut a Black Magic that no sap came out of it at all. I put it in a prop box in my normal substrate on a seedling mat. And I think, what was that, about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and it is firmly rooted. You know how you do the little tug test to see if the roots are taking? This thing's in there, so don't lose sleep over that. So there's one. I will speed this process up because there's nothing worth saving here. Or at least when I'm doing this, why not start from scratch, even if something is looks like maybe, you know, kind of, it's like there are a couple of roots at the end of this that, you know, maybe I'm just gonna make sure I've got great stem there. So I will take some cuts here. I have this vine here coming across right there, and the question is that a living vine or is that just dead? And it is, that looks good. So we have these new leaves. Somehow this plant is resilient. It's putting on new leaves, new leaves, plenty of growth. The question is, if I cut it here, will it kill these leaves? And the answer, they're far enough along, probably not gonna kill them, but they're not gonna grow larger. But I don't know, do I want, you know, the decision you have to make, ask yourself is, you know, do you want to start this plant right about here, and then you'll have these one node cuttings to add into the pot, or make separate plants? I'm going to keep this together just cut the stem shorter. So what I'm going to do is pot these all together. And this is just a plant for me. You know, like all the gift plants, it's not in some way a potential moneymaker for me. That's not how I look at these really generous gifts. So let's just load this up. I want to talk a little bit about winter propagation right now. Okay, I edited out some of my struggle. as often with this dry cocoa coir chunky mix, I sometimes have trouble getting things to kind of stick in there. So I'm going to throw in these plant pins here and then water it right away so that these smaller cuttings don't fall out. There we go. So that looks pretty good. A little drippy, but the thing to do for me is remember to put the tag in, to think if I have learned anything. I don't know that I did. My guess on this one is that I over watered it. I sometimes will, I hate to say, I'm not a lazy person, but sometimes I will just not feel great like I was a couple of weeks ago. And I think I mentioned this in the tent video, and I was just watering willy-nilly. But I don't, that's speculation, I don't really know. But I do know that this will put off a bunch of new growth points. This is going to be a fuller plant. So actually, you know, that's the glass half full on this one. And what a gorgeous plant. This is my Rhaphidophora decursiva. I just took a couple of props from this because I had it growing really beautifully. And then I moved it and it was getting much less overhead light. So it put on a runner that was about this long and then put on some foliage. So I let that develop. In this case, with large leaves like this, I did go ahead and let those develop and then did the chop. Those are right behind me. I'm going to put those in perlite or something. You know, on Hoya, there can often never be a good time to take that chop because there's a new vine or there's brand new growth. And a lot of times I just have to say, okay, you know, it's now or never. You know, there's always going to be good growth throughout the seasons if it's in a tent or, you know, it's getting decent conditions. So sometimes you just have to sacrifice that new growth. Now, propagating in the winter, I do it. Of course I do it. I have prop boxes. I use heating mats in the winter, and in the summer, I moisten the perlite down to keep that humidity up. If you add a seedling mat with that moistened perlite, you will create a very, 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 very wet biome. So, you know, you could run into some fungal issues with, you know, no air circulation in there. So I have a couple of prop boxes, fortunately only two right now, are on seedling mats. I'm going to take the perlite out and either put in dry or perlite or maybe no perlite at all, and see how that goes. But, you know, change of seasons, things change. So for me, that was, I had kind of somehow forgotten that, and man, I just had water drops all over the top of the box. Now, in the case of this one, it's probably in a perfectly fine pot size. I think I may have made it way too chunky, too much perlite, but it's thirsty. It's thirsty like crazy. Or maybe it just has, hope against hope, just an amazing root system. And let's find out here. Sometimes you find out it doesn't have an amazing root system. I prefer not to find that out. Oh, they're growing out of the bottom just fine. Well, I don't want to stab it with that. That's gonna not be good. Let's see if I can just, oh, yeah. Just typical me, like just assume everything's going to be harder than it actually is. And well, there we go. I think we have at least one idea of why this is so thirsty. That looks great. Let's just do a quick inspection. Oh, that's like solid roots, my friends. I love it. I think I'll try a 6-inch pot. That looks good to me. And just a little more of that chunky stuff. A little too much spag in there. Gently, gently. Let's not break it, but not too gently. That is not as big of an upgrade as I was thinking it would be. It doesn't have a ton of room around that. So let's see, is this something that can be broken up, or would that do more harm than good? More harm than good. Still a 6-inch vessel. However, this one doesn't have that traditional flower pot style, so this holds much more substrate, much more substrate. It's why sometimes using a 4-inch or a 6-inch container, flower pot, whatever you want to call it, can be kind of a useless, I don't want to say a useless suggestion, but a useless suggestion. Because that's the mouth of the pot. You also have to consider the volume of the pot. Let me load this up. I'll be right back with you. Let's see. Maybe for now, I will pin it just like that. And I think this plant is going to be an awful lot happier. I've needed to do this for weeks. What is it that you've been putting off that you should be doing with me right now? We have such good engagement in the comments that that's not an idle question. I'm actually curious, and I'll respond and have some empathy for you. How is everybody doing with the change of season pests? I know that at least one dear viewer in New York is battling mealybugs all of a sudden out of nowhere, and this really is the time for a lot of people that pests descend. So, yikes. I hope you're doing well with that. Me, so far so good. Very happy to see nothing weird on any of these plants. Just a good reminder for me that if there's any time of the year that I should be on top of my my do-it-yourself spray, it's spring and fall. Those change of seasons are the big ones, and it's an easy time to get busy with other things and kind of let that slide. And boy, once pests take a hold, I'm sure I don't have to tell most of you, that can really be a nightmare. Let me grab some Carnosa. Let me grab one. I'm going to show this to you. Just a little public service announcement. This is not a Crimson Princess. That is a long expired trade name, as is Crimson Queen. Those are both long expired trademarked names. So there are lots of Carnosa in this world that are inner and outer variegated, and unless it came as a Crimson Princess, and right now that would not be from a store, like I said, long expired. That would be from a private seller. If you don't know what it is, and I do know what this one is, it's just intervariegated Carnosa, and that's it. That's all it can ever be. Now I know a lot of people will not care to make that distinction, and that was some of the best branding in the history of plants, for sure. But this one is from Ed Helm's garden. It's Exotica. We'll not get into how people can name their plants and trademarked names versus culture. I mean, it's an interesting topic, but way outside the scope of today. I thought I'd throw it in there. I have got a bunch of these that I didn't sell this. I didn't try to sell very many of these. A few to some of you. I thought I was just going to sell them locally. You kept me so busy that I didn't sell a single plant locally. I am going to save one of these for a friend I've been promising, but my thought is I might just make a big hanging basket, take care of it, and give it to somebody as a housewarming gift next year. We'll see how that goes, but I'm tired of taking care of all of these in individual pots. They're getting very thirsty, so they need an upgrade. It's such a very, very beautiful plant. Let me get them out of their pots and then I will be right back with you. So pretty. You know what may be more pertinent than knowing that I'm a little messy. Trademark names Crimson Princess and Crimson Queen are well expired is that people make up names on Etsy all the time. And I was having a discussion between, well, I was the third party. I was the odd man out between a viewer, my friend Crazy Plant Gal, and then she came to me because I happen to know just a little bit more about trademark names than she does, for Carnosa anyway. And it was just a straight made up name. And it's pretty easy to verify if the product exists by simply Googling the name. And if it doesn't show up somewhere, it's made up. If you can't find a trademark name, probably doesn't exist. And you know, the big companies like Costa and Proven Winners, they come up with a plant that maybe looks slightly different. They put their name on it. You know, it's an intervariegated Carnosa, for instance, you know, like at the end of the day. So those inflated crazy prices, if you think you're getting a rare Carnosa because it's called Carnosa Florida Hurricane, don't do it. Don't spend your money. This one's cute. It has a few reverted leaves on it. I'm going to repot this one for my friend and trim it back. She doesn't have a lot of space, so this one may be perfect for her. So let's leave this one out. My goal is to put it in this rather large pot. I don't know if this is 6 or 8 inch. Must be. I don't know. It's huge, and it may be way too big. But let's find out. This is gonna stay wet way too long in this plastic container too. I wonder if I would just like to have a beautiful trailing Carnosa. What would Dave do if it were his plant? The problem for me is that I already have a really beautiful one on this gorgeous tray leaf trellis. Also linked in my description. There's a discount code for you. So do I need 2 of these? I mean, these are first world problems, I know, but I'm here doing this right now. Wish I had more plastic pots. I'll check the basement. Well, hello. I ran out of memory, so it was a perfect time to get my lovely wife off to work. It is the Iowa City Book Festival, so she is unbelievably overworked right now, but I'm so proud of the work she does. She is amazing at her job. I cleaned up. I repotted the Carnosa while I was waiting for Kathleen to get ready to leave. So I made one pot like this, one that will be a hanger. That's awfully cute. And then one more back here. So those are done. I want to jump into Rhaphidophora tetrasperma next. I was telling Kathleen on the way to work that I felt like I almost wanted to edit out having no roots on that gorgeous plant that was gifted to me, but that would clearly be psychopathic behavior, right? Or would it? We'll see what happens. If it's not there, you guys will never even know, especially the person who gave me that plant. All right, this is Rhaphidophora tetrasperma with fantastic roots. I just gave my main plant, I don't know. I gave my plant a trim a couple of times this year. It's such a healthy grower that I didn't mind doing that. I'm going to, I don't know, feature it somehow better than I have before. It doesn't need a ton of light. In fact, I put it in much less light and the leaves have gotten so large, the new ones, that it makes all the other ones look kind of wimpy. So what I think I'll do is just do little bunches of these. I'm sure this will be something, you know, I gift or something. You know, this isn't a super duper valuable plant or anything by any stretch. What is very cool about this plant is that unlike a Monstera or even, a Pothos or something, this will glue itself to your drywall without destroying the wall. Think more like a Hoya, where it just kind of flatly glues itself to it. That's a big bonus. So if you want one of those cool, I was going to say trailing plants, but crawling plants, crawling across your wall plants, this is a much safer bet than a Monstera, which can really, as I said, that one can really do some damage. Okay, well that one didn't take, and it's been in here quite a while. This one, no good, I wouldn't say. I could continue to try to root that. It doesn't mean enough to me. That looks good. So that one looks fantastic. It's interesting to see how differently these plants have, these cuttings have rooted, given that they're all from the same vine. And it's why, when somebody swears by one method on a particular plant, I tried my whatever in tree fern fiber, I tried it in this. It's of limited value, even though I did a video on it trying a bunch of different plants and a bunch of different substrates, because you just don't know how it's going to grow. It's so strange. You would think these would all be essentially identical, but they are not. So interesting, always interesting how plants work. Fascinating, in fact. And well, I don't want to do this. What I don't want to do is completely cover up a leaf. That's not great. There we go. Maybe just a little more of the really chunky stuff on top. And then these two. All right, I'll finish this up, water them through, I'll be right back. Couple of really nice looking Monstera siltipicanos. I've kind of come to accept that this is a plant that I'm just going to grow and occasionally start over. They're really prone to going yellow at the base of the plant, and then, or even a lot of the leaves. I'm sure that if I grew it on a moss pole, which I will never do, it might be a different story, but they grow so well, they grow so quickly, I'm okay with that. I've grown them huge, I've grown them absolutely enormous as trailing plants. They're just so beautiful. These are leftovers from the substrate challenge I was just talking about, and they look just absolutely terrific. These are the only two that I didn't repot out of all of those plants that I did. I left one in tree fern fiber, and I left one in stratum, which I've been told is not meant as kind of a long-term growing medium. I don't know enough about it, and I certainly was not impressed enough to care further, to be honest with you. Man, I had some guy scold me that it was an invalid test because I'd already made up my mind on it, and I was like, dude, calm down. I gave everybody the exact same chance. My attitude did not affect the growth of roots. But here's the one that was started in the stratum, and here is the tree fern fiber. The difference before I repotted them was absolutely insane. The fluval stratum was rooted nicely, no question about it. But the tree fern fiber was just insane. It was just crazy town. Let me grab a pot. Why didn't I grab a pot? Gonna do one of my thrift shop finds and just get busy here. This won't take long, obviously. I think that's gonna look cute, right? Oh, yeah. The very last time I ever tried to be helpful on Facebook there was somebody who'd asked a question about a Monstera siltipicano that was just this little sorry, sickly cutting. I mean, clearly not going to make it. One tiny little cutting in a 4-inch pot. Now, no one knows what I need chunkier substrate. I was about to say that, you know, none of us knew what the roots look like, but this plant was clearly not going to live, and someone just excoriated this woman, and that kind of went on this, like saying the pot was too small and, you know, just a bunch of stuff. And so as firm as I would ever get on a forum is, well, that hasn't been my experience, you know. And I said, you know, I grow a lot of plants in smaller pots, and she said there was scientific proof, you know, this there. And I posted a picture of my massive, gorgeous plant that was grown in a quite small pot. And she sent me a white paper and told me that I needed to take the time to educate myself. I thought, what do you think I have been doing other than educating myself with plants? And I don't particularly care what someone's white paper says versus my or your experience growing a plant. That is ultimately what is valuable. And anyway, this person went on for a while, and I thought, it's just not even worth it. I'm not here to win an argument. I think I've told you all, I'm not on this planet to win arguments. I just don't care. So if you can't even post a picture of your own, I would say it's just frankly the best Siltepecano trailing plant I have ever seen. It's hard to get them to grow and look really great and not do the yellow leaf thing. Yeah, that's my moment of modesty for the day. But I figure if you can't post a picture of your own plant and share the experience and not be told you need to educate yourself, what is the point? What is the point? So anyway, that's my Facebook story for the day. You knew I had to tell a Facebook story during a repot. But tell me, does that not look adorable? That is going to look fantastic as this grows. And then in 2 years, I will start it over again. Probably the most important repot I could do is going to be the least fun. It's my Philodendron Basil. I just keep putting it off, and let's do it right now. In lieu of repotting this, I just gave it a huge haircut this summer, and then I gave it another huge haircut this summer. But there's no keeping this plant hydrated anymore. The soil line is down so far into this 8-inch pot. It just desperately needs a repot. So let's do it. I may have to rearrange the camera for this one. Might be worth doing that. I'm just trying right now not to pinch the vines. Okay, let's take a look here. Boy, if you want to talk about underrated plants, common as dirt, cheap, and absolutely gorgeous, fantastic grower. I like this growth pattern a lot more than Epiprimnum or Pothos, you know, your golden Pothos, because the leaves, the internodal spacing is so close, and it just makes a much fuller plant. Man, 10 out of 10 for this, 100%. I'm just putting off repotting this. All right, we're gonna get the tools of the trade. I guess it's just a tool of the trade. And get in here. I did just soak this pot yesterday or the day before. And of course there are some dead leaves in there. I mean, if they're not getting light, they're not going to live. So that's not any big deal. I'm just gonna see if I can pull it out before but oh jeez. I have literally been putting this off for months because I thought it was going to be so hard. I do not know why I thought that. I feel that way about my Hoya Matilda too. Maybe I should tackle that next and call it a day. In case I don't, I just want to tell you that I asked for suggestions on how to repot that plant without breaking all the vines, and y'all came up with great suggestions. I didn't take any of them yet because it was just covered in buds within days of me saying that. It had peduncles all summer long, and then all of a sudden they were just one is going to bloom because it is so dehydrated in its pot. So I gained nothing by waiting. This is my life story. Put it off, put it off, put it off, put it off, gain nothing. That does sum it up. All right, so here is our root ball, and everything looks fantastic in here. I don't think there's any point trying to break this up. Just whatever might come away easily. I'll loosen this up a little bit. I know some people don't tease their roots at all. I have repotted plants without doing that, and they just did not leave their little circle, their tight little circle. So it was like planting the plug, but not getting any benefit of the repot, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's been my experience with a few plants, not a ton because I stopped doing it that way. I'm going to use the same container. This is just one from Ace Hardware. It's not attractive. It's not, obviously that's not a like beautiful color, but you can't see it, so it's perfect. You know what? I am going to show you a different pot that I bought specifically for this plant and had forgotten. I'll be right back. This is basalt clay, and like a pot I was showing you earlier, it's still 8 inches, but it's got those sides that are almost straight down, so it holds a bunch more substrate. It has an awfully large hole, it seems like. These are really, really kind of expensive, but I got this thrift shopping for $4, so I was happy about that. Let me put a little substrate in the bottom there. Okay, well, let's see how we do here. I'm just going to, the easy side will be here to work the substrate in. I'm gonna have to refill this bowl, of course. What's nice is that these vines are just incredibly durable. I worry less about damaging these than my Mathilde, I think. I am kind of pushing it in along the sides somewhat gently. The mailman is here, so I'm going to edit out the wild barking that is just about to start. So easy. Like, what is my problem? Who knows? I don't know. I think it's somewhat human nature, at least for some of us, to anticipate the worst and then just do it, and it turns out being not nearly as bad as we thought it would be. As I said, that's a metaphor for my life, but I'm happy with this. I'm going to leave it there on a high note. I don't think I can improve upon how easy it was to do the Brazil. Mathilde is just about to bloom, maybe. So I'll leave her for another chores video. I want to do a Hoya trellising video and that propagation video next, so I don't know what order they'll come out in. They'll probably be a little more educational than this one was, but my gosh, did I need to get some work done. Thank you for helping me with that, and thank you for watching the videos. That's so much more important than the number of subscribers for YouTube. I don't say that very often. I should have said it in the middle of this video and not the end, because only about 55% of you are here right now, historically speaking. So a huge thank you. I hope you had some fun with this one. I hope you have some time today to do something just for you, and join me in the next one real soon, okay? Bye-bye.